afternoon and welcome to 10th session of Life After Lockdown. We never thought that we will be able to extend the session so long. Initially, we joined together for one discussion and then subsequently it happened. And now today we are at 10th discussion on life after lockdown for healthcare and pharmaceuticals. Welcome all of you again. Thank you for joining in this changed time. We have changed the timings as well as day with the request from many of you. Possibly it will be more convenient to join for the people while offices are open now or gradually opening at this moment. We have two distinguished guests as a panel member this 10th issue of the Life After Lockdown. We have from the industry Vijay Christopher. He's a director in board of Brinton Pharmaceutical. Vijay is a very seasoned professional. He has experience both Indian as well as multinational company. He started his career from American Remedies and then worked for 10 years in Pfizer and then almost 5 years in Dr. Reddy's. And for short term, he has worked in Curatio and now he is heading Brinton Pharmaceutical Company. Mid-sized company. Is coordinating the MBA curriculum in University of Hyderabad for healthcare and hospital management. Professor Acharyulu is a distinguished academician, published, I could figure out at least 16 articles in index journals. He has been very active and talking in different platforms at this time of COVID-19 time in different industry platform. Possibly we'll know about him when he talks and he gives his expertise in supply chain management. That is the area of his expertise where in which he teach to MBA students in hospital management and healthcare management. He's a very dynamic guy. You will see the kind of proactiveness he show for the content in schools, in business school of management studies. The kind of enthusiasm I personally observed him when I visited and met him and his dean. And I have been working with this university anyway for last 1.5 years. What is the most important thing I would like to congratulate here publicly to Professor Acharyulu that once again the University of Hyderabad got a recognition of top 10 institute of excellence in India and among the 700 globally recognized top university in the world. So that kind of high standard the University of Hyderabad has been keeping that. And I personally experienced it working with the University of Hyderabad as we have launched a collaborative PG diploma program in infection prevention and control last year. And that gives me a sense of pride also to work in collaboration with Professor Acharyulu and the University of Hyderabad. With this brief, I think it is time to start. And the format is known to all of you. Please keep on putting your comments, your questions in the chat box. We try to respond that. And I would like to again acknowledge my first guest of this session or the participant of this session here, the Professor Vivek Hatangali. We have many new participants here this time, which is interesting to see that. So I start with the poll here. I request all the participants to respond at the poll. The question is, what is the biggest challenge in pharma market at COVID-19 time? And option giving are there. You choose one option, though all looks correct. 70% professionals responded that doctors are not allowing to medical rep to meet and engage with them to detail the product. And that seems to be the biggest problem. However, 30% people has responded that the chemist and wholesale are not keeping required quality of the stocks and inventory. These are the two response which you got in this poll. Nobody responded the remaining other options, right? Other options were just to put that everything in the context. I'm sorry. There is some change, slight change here in the poll. Doctors are not allowing to medical rep to meet is 70%. Doctors are not having good number of patients to prescribe your medicine is the 36%. Now the change. So 36% people say that there is no patient in the doctor's clinic. So there is no prescription, that is causing the most difficult situation for industry. Okay, so we just close this here and let us come to the discussion now. My first question is to Vijay Christopher. Vijay, I would invite you to say something about yourself, and then please talk about how you and your team is facing this challenging team. What has changed in last few weeks or months in the industry for pharmaceutical and healthcare?
Okay, so as you, thanks for your kind words, Pranav. As you introduced, I'm Vijay Christopher. I have close to 2.5 decades of experience in this industry. I started my career with a company called American Remedies, and then I moved to a company called Pfizer for 10 years. And then I worked in Dr. Reddy's for almost 9 years. And I've been associated with the startup company. And today I'm with Brinton for the last 5 years now. Yes, so coming to your question, Pranav, I mean, I was expecting a good length delivery coming from you, being the first ball of the innings, but it seems to be an in-swinging Yorker. No worries, I'm an eternal optimistic guy, and I'm not going to paint any dark or gloomy picture here. Yes, we are in the midst of a black swan event, okay? And the good news is the history tells us whenever there was a black swan event, the initial road to recovery was a little bit bumpy, but the good news is after the initial recovery happens, the companies, they reach new peak of performance in terms of value creations for all stakeholders. And this happens not to all, only to those who are able to resurrect themselves by quickly changing the on-out parts in the pit stop and redefine the way they used to operate their business. After all, I'm sure you all would agree with me that you cannot be in today's business following yesterday's method and with the hope of being in tomorrow. Now, coming to the most important person or the most important part of our entire scheme of things is medical rep. Okay, yes, things are changing and things are changing very fast. But what is happening to this poor boy called medical representative, the unsung heroes? I'm very proud to say that I started my career as a medical representative. While we study in our schools and colleges, no one has an ambition of becoming a medical rep. Am I right? And I'm sure we must have taken this profession due to certain compulsions, due to certain circumstances. And here, what have we done to this person who is the main reason for creating an industry or a market, Indian pharmaceutical market today, which is valued at $20 billion US. It's not a small industry, it's a huge industry of $20 billion US. And this has been, the medical reps have played a pivotal role. Okay, when I started my career as a medical rep, I mean, I was put into a 26 days training program by Pfizer. Today, how many companies do that? Do companies have a department called training department today? How many companies see training as an investment? How many companies see training as an expense? I mean, once we start putting the training under investments, our orientation towards the entire outlook changes. Now coming back, again, I'm going to focus on medical rep because he is the most important person, according to me, in the entire value chain. What have we done to improve his standard of working? They work, I mean, we all know, they work in extreme conditions. We gave him a tool called Visual Aid, and we thought it was the most powerful tool, and that did not change in the last 40 to 50 years. It was like giving a stick or lathi to a cop and a double-barrel rifle given to the frontline soldiers. It was okay 40, 50 years back, but today, will that suffice? Everything around him changed. Communicating instruments have changed. In the last 40 to 50 years, Steve Jobs started Apple. He left Apple. He came back to Apple. He launched series of products. He launched iPhone. Today, the 11th generation is available in the market. What has happened to medical reps? Has it changed anything? Forget the communicating instruments. Look at his mode of transport. Earlier, people used to walk by foot. Then they bought moped. Then they bought bikes, scooters, cars. But nothing has changed for his role as a medical rep inside the doctor's clinic. Even in his house, things have changed. The radios have been replaced by tape recorders, and then the TVs, the black and white television, the color television, the LCD. Today we have LEDs. But his visual aid remained the same, but for few changes in content. And we know that doctors were becoming allergic to the visual aids. The day the first doctor said, please tell me only the brand name, we should have sensed that something is seriously going wrong. Did we do it? Yes, today medical reps are facing a hard time to connect with the doctors, and that's exactly what has come in the poll which was conducted just now. 60% of the people say that meeting doctors is becoming difficult. That's a reality. According to me, everyone should take the responsibility of meeting the doctors, meeting the sales targets. Why only the medical reps? So it's high time we should ask ourselves some serious questions. And it is everyone's responsibility in the leadership team to find out alternate strategies to enable, to equip, to empower the medical reps so that he's able to go and convey the message, what he's supposed to convey to the doctors. Achieving targets is not the responsibility of medical reps alone. The entire line managers, the entire leadership team should take that responsibility of achieving the targets. Okay? So now, these are the challenges which I foresee today. Doctors are not willing to meet the medical reps. Okay? Earlier, we used to walk into the doctor's cabin with his permission. Today, they're not willing to meet. Because why they are not willing to meet? Because they are scared, like you and me. Today, we are not moving out or moving around the way which we used to move around until the third week of March. Things have changed. We are getting used to the new normal. So that's how I see what is the current scenario or the black swan event which has come and hit us, Pranav.
Yeah, thanks. Very, very thought-provoking message, Vijay, you talked about. And actually, it came in the previous session also. This is the God-given chance to pharmaceutical company. If you don't change, you will perish. This is what the strong word said by Ajay Bhatt, the president HR of Intas Pharmaceutical. And Vijay, you are saying the same line. It has to be change, and change is the only constant in the life. Before we move to Professor Acharyulu, I have got a comments from Praveen. The questions. So when you are putting a poll, there is a other option also. In other option, I request you to please put it in the chat box. What is your answer? If it is not falling within the 5-6 option given, you always can put in the chat box your answer, which is much more. We'll have 3 more poll here. So coming back to Professor Acharyulu, as an outsider, how you see, and as an academician, you see very closely entire healthcare, pharmaceutical, life sciences. What do you anticipate? What is going to happen to the industry now?
To the pharmaceutical industry, okay. So as Vijay has already mentioned, very critical points like value chain. The value chain creation, creating value to the customer. So this is very important. So the value chain, if you can take care of value chain in the pharma industry, then automatically things will be smoother. From my perspective, supply chain management perspective, so it is a lot of disruptions happen because of this COVID-19. So these disruptions are leading to how do you build a really resilient supply chain? That's very important. So here what happens is in a traditional supply chain, in a pharmaceutical industry, like develop, source, make, or manufacture, deliver, and so support and so on and so forth. This is a linear supply chain happened so far. But now in future, because of this COVID and our post-COVID situation, so things are going to be different. The industry is going to be transformed in such a way that it should be agile, it should be responsive, and should be agility. Agility in the sense, how do you respond, to quickly respond to the customer requirements or changes in the market scenario. So while going into a new normal, so how do you adapt to the changes? That's very important. And the transformation in the supply chain, pharmaceutical supply chain, is going to be digitalized supply chain network. That's what I want to say. Digitalized supply chain network, in the sense, how are you going to make use of digital platforms in order to share information? When you share information, you are caring each other. Sharing and caring, a lot of connectivity is there. So that's why the supply chains, these disruptions are going to be, the first disruption is raw material supply. So most of the APIs are supplied to the entire world from China and India, 80%. But suddenly the lockdown at China, and subsequently that is affected entire world. So to their production facilities. Of course, so the India, most of the pharmaceutical big companies, they have stocks, 6 months stocks. They have procured 6 months stock procurement, and because of which there is no much impact on the production.
Sure.
But production level has come down due to shortage of some local materials or some chemicals, and manpower. That's also one of the important aspects. And all these things, the production level has come down, but this is the only industry which is continuously run during this COVID time, and also exported drugs to the different countries like US. Hydroxychloroquine, we have supplied 35 lakhs kits, not kits, that is 35 lakhs tabs. So like that, the supply chain disruption is happened due to raw material shortage, and also manufacturing capacity has come down and sales has come down. And if you look at from the delivery point of view, so most of the retail chains, they don't have sales. Only some of the drugs are, the demand is increasing suddenly, like retroviral drugs and other drugs. But so that has created a problem, lot of demand, and the inventory levels have come down. The people are unable to supply the medicines. That's one issue. Then third issue is transportation. As Vijay already said, the transportation logistics problems, because of the manpower, labor is not available, no proper packaging. So there's no manpower for packaging and loading, unloading. If at all, if you want to export, so you have a freight forwarding and stevedoring. For all these things, you require a lot of manpower. So the manpower availability is not there, because which a lot of delay happened. Due to this delay, lead time has been increased. When the lead time is increased, your stocks are increased. The cost is going to increase. So ultimately, it is going to affect cost. So the total cost is going to be increased. So profitability will come down. That is my view as far as the industry is concerned.
So I see, Professor, just digging further on that, I see two types of possibilities in the future. You rightly said this is a disruption time. When disruption happens, the equation also changes. Not only in pharmaceutical and healthcare, across the industry, and Prime Minister Modi nowadays, he's talking about Swadeshi, right? We need to be Atmanirbhar, putting ourselves in that context. The pharmaceutical company should also rethink on, and more than the pharmaceutical company, government should enable them, give incentives to them to produce the API in India. Earlier it was there. For last couple of years only, we are buying from the China like country. We can't depend on China. So the integration further to produce the API and ingredients of the formulation also in India would be one possibility I personally see. Another thing to the distribution is also how you are reaching to the patient. Long back, I think more than 7 years back, when Health Card Plus got launched. Now it is called 1mg. I was working for a possible collaboration with 1mg, earlier called Health Card Plus, and my previous organization where I was working. I saw that the situation was a little difficult to go further because there is a different direction. Pharmaceutical companies see differently, and the health tech companies like 1mg see whole the same business situation differently, and we could not converse that time. But now I see that the kind of muscle 1mg made, and the kind of requirement is there now for online pharmacy. Last week I saw the Apollo has launched all integrated online fulfillment. Earlier they also had, but now EMR, the teleconsultation, the diagnostic test result, as well as the supply of the product within 4 hours. In some cities like Hyderabad, I see within 4 hours you give order, they will supply you within 4 hours in your home. Those is happening. My questions is coming to you, Vijay. In this context, do you see a higher involvement of pharmaceutical company in either collaborating with 1mg like company more proactively, which was lacking? I personally experienced that lacking from the big company also, and other, as professor also talked about something at the company level itself. Do you see that some company will understand the lifetime value of individual patient and his family, and possibly invest on a platform through which they can supply directly, or at least with one retail intermediary to the patient? Vijay.
Yeah, I mean, as a pharmaceutical organization, we've been following the traditional supply chain for over a long time now. And it is high time there is a disruption that happens here. I mean, look at the way how, I'm just taking an analogy. Look at the way like how we used to deal with banks. When did we last go to a physical structure of a bank? I mean, I don't remember. I've never visited a bank in the last 1 year. Another example. Okay, the traditional way of going and seeing a movie. When did you last stand in a queue to purchase a ticket? I mean, these are all the learnings which pharmaceutical industry should learn from other industries and try to adopt. I mean, while I say so, pharmaceutical industry, pharmaceutical companies are not sitting and watching things happening. I mean, the companies are also trying their best. For example, I mean, since pharmaceutical drugs come under various restrictions, there are certain limitations. Okay, I'll give you an example of a product like a sunscreen, for example, which comes under cosmetic, which is not like a drug you'll have to sell with a prescription. A cosmetic can be purchased over the counter. Okay, and we as an young organization, I mean, we have a brand called UVido, which is a sunscreen brand. Today, as we speak, it is the #3 brand in our country. And today, the availability of UVido in platforms like Flipkart or Amazon is to a great extent. And this opportunity, we were able to spot at least a year back, and we are trying to leverage out of it. But when it comes to the conventional drugs, getting, using the online opportunity, I mean, there was a lot of confusion even in the laws and association-related problems. I mean, there was a lot of questions asked about the sheer survival of these online pharmacies. People were going to the court and things like that. But now, with this black swan event of COVID, let us understand that there is no more waiting. We need to move forward, and we need to start playing the game in our front foot, and we need to take learnings from other industries. Take FMCG. Okay, take learnings from, I mean, even the food. What we used to do earlier, we used to go to the hotel, wait, take the parcel, and come home. Last, when did we go to the hotel and bring a takeaway? I mean, everything we use the apps today. Today, the most important tool or most important space is the mobile that what we use. If any organization, be it in whichever industry they operate, if they can understand the importance of this, now the power is in the hands of the consumer. If you're not able to understand and play your game, change your strategies accordingly, you will not just exist, you will perish. That's how I see, and that's how we are working in my company.
A straightforward, the new imperative is to change, adopt a change faster than you think.
I mean, imagine, sorry to interrupt, Pranav. I mean, there are n number of examples in the history. Okay, think of what happened to Kodak. The first digital photography was invented in the labs of Kodak, but Kodak did not see the impact that it's going to cause to its own business, and then it perished. What happened to closer home? Examples like HMV. What happened? They're out of business. What happened to HMT? Once upon a time, it was like it's like a premium signal. Somebody was wearing a HMT watch. Today, where do you see HMT watches? What is the learning that all these organizations give us? Pharmaceutical industry is a very, very knowledge-based and forward-looking industry, and it's high time for all of us to take cognizance of what is happening, and we need to push things before we get pushed.
Right. So we'll go to the audience at this moment. We saw that the last 2 months, most of the companies has registered a degrowth. So just wanted to explore with the audience what their thought process, what could be the possible reason for degrowth. Though I have put some solutions here, some reason here, but don't limit your thought process with this reason only. If you have any other thought which is not listed here, you are always feel free to type it in chat box and respond your questions. So this poll is open now. What is your assessment on why the most companies registered degrowth in last 2 months in COVID-19 era? What could be reason? So there is a okay. I see the responses is coming up. Those of you who are not able to see the poll, just see below the in your mobile, below the menu, you can see there is a poll button, and you can choose the poll option. Meantime, we are voting. I see some comments here. Professor Vivek writes that nice point. E-commerce has to become a major point for pharma. India, AIOCD CD has separated like a stranglehold of pharma. India, AIOCD is actually looting patient with their greed. Distribution cost of cost to make product available in real pharmacies 30%, whereas neighboring Bangladesh is 3%. Oh, distribution cost is very high. So this is another good point. Actually, roughly 30% money goes to distribution middlemen, right? Even in the case of farmer, government is eliminating the middlemen as far as possible. So possibly we see in future this 30% margin can be passed on, most of the, if not 100%, to the patient using the digital platform by the company itself. That's the huge number. 30% is a huge number. I see the poll now. See the response. I'm publishing the poll here, ending the poll first. Very interesting response you see here. What is your assessment on why the most of the pharma companies registered degrowth in last 2 months? People are relatively healthy and improved personal hygiene and proper self-care. 18% people responded this option. 43% people says that people are having health problem but trying to delay treatment or want to live with it as far as possible. So procrastination, forced procrastination rather, people are using as a strategy. 25%, 1/4 of the people says that not able to access healthcare services even in the presence of teleconsultation and online pharmacy. This option, 25% people responded. This gives me a feeling that though healthcare organizations, doctors embraced the teleconsultation, but somehow there is a gap in execution. There is a gap in experience of the patient there, which need to be fixed, which need to be improved upon, so that the people should able to get access of the healthcare. 12% people says that product supply is adversely affected due to lockdown of transport and human resources. That could be a reason for that. So this is the very divided opinion. Actually, all the options has some or more significance as a reason for poor performance in last 2 months. I agree with all of them. Actually, there is no one right here. With this, come back to Vijay again, taking the some clue from what Professor Vivek said, and you said that there has to be a change. Change is the only way forward. Do you see the appetite and capacity to change between the big pharma and mid-size and small pharma? Is there a difference? Who can change fast on who and why? Do you
Okay.
see any difference?
See, I mean, the challenges faced by big, medium, small companies. Am I right? That's what you are asking me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, I mean,
Right.
me having worked in large companies like Pfizer and Dr. Reddy's, and now being associated with Brinton, which is an young organization, which is less than 5 years. Challenges are there for all. Only the degree of challenges would differ. Okay. I mean, if I have to give an example, bus is like a large company, car is like a mid-sized company, and two-wheeler is like a small company, right? No rocket science. The two-wheeler will run out of fuel quickly, followed by car and bus. It depends on the capacity of your fuel tank. Here, the fuel tank is your cash reserve. Everyone should focus on getting the cash flow, which is very, very important. Cash coming in should be more than the cash going out. So, but to answer your question directly, I personally, I don't foresee any difference between the large, medium, and small companies. All companies are same. Even in a large company must be having 15 to 20 divisions. The division which is small, which is started, or the fledgling divisions, their challenges would be totally different from the established divisions, right? Like, let's take Brinton. Brinton, how would you call it as a big company or a small company or a medium-sized company? I would call it as a big company because the therapy in which we operate in dermatology, we are a dominant player. So, I mean, placing or branding a company based on the turnover is not the right way of doing it, number one. Number two, the problem is there for all. Only the degree of the problem varies. So which are those companies who are able to understand and willing to go back to their drawing board, go back to their war rooms and come up with a strategy which can negate all these challenges, convert all these crises into an opportunity, and ensure their operating expenses less than the cash that is generated are the ones who are going to come out successfully with this challenge. And if I have to give an example from Brinton's point of view, as an organization, we are fully prepared, we are equipped, and we are aligned to face the new normal. Because, I mean, I can say with a lot of confidence that we are a people-oriented organization, and we strongly believe empowering people, you take care of the people, and people will take care of the business. And our processes and policies are fully aligned towards the people. And in our company, we have these three words: stability, security, and prosperity. Stability through performance, security to the family, and prosperity to the lives. And that's what we focus. And even during these unprecedented difficult times, we, in our organization, we have not cut the salaries of anyone in the company.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, I would go one step and say that our expansion plans are fully intact, and we will be soon expanding both geographically and into newer therapies.
Good. Feeling very good to see this optimism, the possibility, the resilience at this time of crisis also. So the crisis should not deviate you from your vision of the company. Yeah.
See, this crisis, I mean, COVID is just an answer. Okay, we know that the bubble was becoming big. It was just a matter of time, the bubble to burst. Okay, and today we have put everything on the head of COVID. The best way to go forward is to understand what went wrong and what went right and change. I mean, the other day I saw the video of our Mr. Prabirja,
Mhm.
I mean, he talked about organizational catharsis. I mean, during the lockdown, we all must have done this catharsis at home, right? Removing the unwanted things and then putting the new things. Every organization should go through this periodically. We should not wait for a black swan event to happen. I mean, we should come out of our comfort zone and we should challenge the status quo. I mean, whatever comes will not affect. I mean, we are so lucky. I mean, compared to the other industries, healthcare, pharma, the probability to bounce back is very high. I mean, when I was analyzing the data, I mean, professor also said that the sales have come down at the retail level, and even the poll said that non-availability of medicines at the retail level. I mean, I did this analysis from IQVIA data. They just published the May month data 3 days back. If I look into data at 3 points, March, April, May, the IPM size for the month of March was 11,713 crores. April, it came down to 10,891 crores, okay, which is an incremental loss of 822 crores. The market has come down, degrowth of -7%. And in the month of May, the market is at 11,033 crore. Compared to April, the May month purchase has gone up by 142 crores.
Okay.
And we all know when the lockdown started in the month of, towards the end of March, okay, the first lockdown, second lockdown, third lockdown. And when we were approaching the fourth and fifth, certain amount of relaxation was given for the essential commodities. And we come under essential commodities. And that's the reason why in the month of May, we are able to see an incremental sale of 142 crores. The good news is the needle has started moving back. And I'm pretty confident in the month of June, the incremental sale would be to the tune of 400 to 500 crores compared to the month of May. And in all these things, another important point, this sale does not come from any value price increase or nor from any new product introduction. It's purely volume consumption. This 142 crore incremental sale, which has come in the month of May compared to April. And if you analyze the top 20 companies, only 2 companies have shown a positive growth. Ipca has shown a positive growth of 4%. Sanofi has shown a growth of 0.22%. And we know that Ipca's probably the sale could be because of the HCQS, and Sanofi because of the vaccines. And all this sale does not capture what was sold in the form of PPE kits, N95 masks, so on and so forth. So I'm pretty confident, I'm hopeful in the month of June, we would bounce back, and we would definitely bounce back with a lot of vengeance.
Very rightly said. So now let's move to the audience again, what they feel in the same, because when disruption happens, all big company or small company, all becomes equal, because the challenge is for everybody, and everybody has to face the challenge depending on their way of thinking, their strategy, their management philosophy. So the question is to poll here again for all participants here, is that what should be, if I have to choose only one strategy, what should be the one of the key strategy a pharma should pursue at this time? Poll is open for response. Take your time, slightly complex question.
While the poll happens, I mean, if I can make a point here for now, though we are trying to evaluate the opportunity to take the product directly through the online measures to the patients, at this point in time, I mean, we must acknowledge the efforts put in by the chemists, the stockists, who have played a fantastic role, and they are no less than the COVID warriors in making all the products available to our humankind.
Yes. I think the pharmacies are not and pharmaceuticals are not given that due recognition which the doctors and nurses got.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even the non-availability of products. No? I mean, when the first lockdown was announced on 25th of March, there was panic buying, especially the chronic therapy brands. Okay, and further, the lockdown, when it was extended, we understand some of the salesmen with the stockists, they moved to the native places. And even the movement of vehicles, there were a lot of problems within the city. Intercity became very challenging, and courier service, they were not operating. So that's the reason why probably some patients must have felt some kind of a problem in product availability in some parts of the country. Now, after giving permission for the movement of essential items, things are back to normal.
Right. So we are back to normal. But going forward, what is the strategy? I'm ending the poll now. Believe that all the participants has responded, and very, very varied response came. Amazing to see that. Though there is no one right answer, but see how the response are there. Keep trying to stretch efforts on the conventional activities like meeting doctors, taking personal orders from the chemist. Nearly 1/3, 27% of the people says that it is the conventional wisdom prevails. You continue doing that. Another 27% people says try to understand the changed patient behavior and preferences and address accordingly. If you recollect the earlier poll where people say that people are delaying, the patient are actually changing the behavior. They are not rushing to the hospital immediately. They are trying to manage themselves with the home remedy or whatever may be. So there is a change in the patient behaviors. 27% people says that this need to be thoroughly and deeply understood, and then organizations should respond accordingly. 18% of the participants' opinion is that swiftly change product portfolio. Here the concern is the sales and top line and bottom line. So change the product portfolio, promotion, and promote the product which is still consumed at this moment, and the kind of product which is not getting consumed possibly should get lesser promotional mindshare. I see 27% people says that work on health awareness program, encouraging patients to go to teleconsultation or physical consultation for their medical requirement. So what is happening, and many of the doctors told me last time when we had this program, doctor told me that they are having problem, but they are either not tech savvy, not able to connect to the doctor, or trying to hold it. But this is detrimental. One of the very senior cardiologists in Delhi, he said that angioplasty has reduced, but not the death because of the heart ACS, acute heart syndrome, right? Acute coronary syndrome. And possibly when the patient will come back at the delayed stage, the doctors may not be able to do much. So the health awareness program, which 27% says that is important, pharmaceutical companies should play a role in improving that awareness, that do not hide your health ailment. Try to reach to the healthcare professionals either through telemedicine, and if possible with good taking hygiene and precautions, social distancing, go to the hospital whenever required. Don't keep it, just don't cover it up. That is not a solution. So this is what we got. Let me see if somebody has responded. Any other options also? Okay. Yeah, Samir Arora responded, should think out of the box, because previously, okay, that's right. Extraordinary situation require extraordinary thought. Okay. Here, there is a type questions I would take from Sairam R. He asked a couple of minutes back that, and this poll is related with that question. So I'm taking that question, Vijay, for you. The question for you is that patients are really scared to go hospital. How pharma companies can support new patient activation and improve their outcome in chronic care?
Okay, so I mean, be it chronic or acute, the patients are today scared to move out. That's the reality. And like jokingly, somebody was telling, when corona cases were in China, we were put under lockdown. When corona has come to my next street, the unlock has begun. Okay, so jokes apart, but the question comes between the lives are important or the livelihood is important. According to me, both are important because both are interdependent. And coming to this question of Sairam, patients are scared. And how do pharma companies play enabling role? Definitely, patients are feeling scared to go the conventional way, to go to the doctor, wait, and then because the patients are chronic patients, he mentioned, because I assume that they would be elderly and there would be a lot of comorbidity conditions, and they become very potential risk when it comes to COVID. Okay, so that's the reason why they are confined to the homes. So here, as you said in your passing remark, Pranav, doctors today can be broadly classified into doctors who are tech savvy and doctors who are not tech savvy. As an organization, Brinton, what we did is we quickly sprang into action and we segregated our doctors into 3 different bins. Doctors who are elderly, who are tech savvy, doctors who are not tech savvy, and doctors who are somewhere in between, who are willing, in immaterial between of the age, whether young, medium, or elderly, who are willing to explore with the technology. And accordingly, we kind of helped each of these doctors in 3 different bins to improve or to move to a digital platform. Okay, so in that process, we must have trained closely to an extent of 4,000 doctors on digital platforms. So in that, what we understood is, though 4,000 doctors came and went through this training program, the percentage of doctors who went on to take that platform was only 60%. And the percentage of doctors who went on to use it continuously was further came down by another 10 to 20%. So what happens is, even the doctors are finding it difficult to get accustomed to the new emerging ways of treating the patients. Some of the doctors, when they come for these training programs, the question is always like, I want to see, how do I see the patient? Suppose the patient is coming with a sore throat. How do I see? How do I use my otoscope? Those kind of a thing. They're still, it's their own genuine challenge. But as a pharmaceutical company, if we can take this up in a big way, if we can collaborate with other companies and come up with a platform through which the doctor is able to absolutely see the patient virtually and able to give that kind of advice, I think that would be a win-win situation for all the pharmaceutical companies, for the patients, for the doctors.
Lovely, lovely. I think you are talking one stage up where the competition became collaborator. This is lovely.
Exactly.
Competition, the different companies should work together to create a platform for the patient, and obviously they will also get, because right now we are worried that patient is not there in doctor's clinic. We are not doctor. Why we are worried? Because our business depend on the doctor's clinics, number of the patient in their clinic. So same way what Vijay said, that this is a very good suggestion. I think the pharmaceutical company should think out of the box and not compete, rather collaborate to give a value to your customer, which is physicians and patient. Now coming back to Professor Acharyulu. Professor Acharyulu, as I said earlier, you are the coordinator for the MBA in University of Hyderabad for healthcare management and hospital management. So I think this lockdown and this COVID-19 also given a lot of trigger to educational institution to align their curriculum, particularly professional education, to align the curriculum with the need of the changed world, the post-COVID-19 world. So what are the things you see? 2 points rather, I would ask you. Number one, for the working professionals, which you see, which already in the job market, or professionals in the different industry, in different company in pharma and healthcare industry, what are the new things they should learn, embrace, and possibly you can put some light on the academic institution point of view. What are the changes in the format of education the educational institution like University of Hyderabad should take further?
So So actually, as Vijay already said, digitalization, that is the only way that you have to think in education institutions. Now, all universities are going for blended learning. That is face-to-face learning, classroom learning is going away. But maybe after 6 months, maybe it happens. But 30% at least classes should be online.
Oh,
So that is what major change that is happening, and we are working from home and delivering online classes to students and continuing our academic activity. But in the process, what happens for the working professionals, as you rightly pointed out, so for the working professionals, they need to have some kind of online programs, certificate programs, webinars to make them to understand, to upgrade their skills and knowledge about the technology, digitalized platforms, how things are happening. All these things are very important for working professionals, and also as far as the curriculum is concerned, for the students, pharmaceutical students, so they should see the relevance of the. So whatever the curriculum that is designed earlier, maybe because of the post-COVID situation, so we have to see that relevance and significance and utility. These three important factors we have to consider. So normally, as far as I know, so pharmaceutical students, they have a human biology, anatomy, and the pharmacy administration, and so many subjects like pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, like that. But management part is also very important, management and control. So these new things should be added, like design thinking. Design thinking is new phenomena. These subjects should be added so that they try to understand. They are industry ready. That's very important. The students should be industry ready. There should not be any kind of any learning, unlearning and relearning. That should happen in the curriculum. These things are very important. And as far as the things are concerned, here my view is uh, from the professional's point of view and the student's point of view, ethics should be one of the important criteria. And IPR, patent rights, of course, IPR will be there, but they should be exposed to the regulation act and regulation conditions. All these things they have to know. And also nowadays the curriculum should be in such a way that the students should have a multi-skilling, not focusing on mostly the pharmaceutical professionals will be going into
right.
production side, going into marketing side, and going into pharmacy manager, like the different disciplines. But now the situation is demanding that they should have a multi-skill. They should be able to deal with the 2-3 things parallel.
Interesting.
True. Very, very true.
Apart from technology savvy, that's very important.
I think it's high time that the curriculum of all courses, we need to take a relook.
The online classroom, online examination, online evaluation, and it is like asynchronous mode, anytime, anywhere.
Right.
Anytime, anywhere.
Very interesting thing, actually. What you said about now, this is going against our normal thought process in pharmaceutical industry. In pharmaceutical industry, we see a specialist like a interventional cardiologist, right? Pediatric dermatologist. More you are specialized, more your value in value chain, you are regarded higher. But what the change scenario demand is that you have to be jack of all trades. You have to be knowing so many things to survive and to sail over such an unforeseen situation. If you are expert in one area, possibly the need for that area may be obsolete because of the change, and you as a professional also might be obsolete. So you have to be knowing, learning, keep learning continuously in a multiple field of subject. Thank you, Professor, for this.
And one small thing I want to add, sir, that's customer relationship management.
Okay.
That is also one of the important aspects. The students should have that kind of knowledge. How do they manage customer relationship management? And there are softwares available. And how do they connect the patients and doctors and other stakeholders on the digital platform? They can interact and collaborate to do a lot of research. So many things are going to happen in future.
So rightly you said that in this COVID era also, one of my friend in Bangalore is a doctor. He says that those patient who are his patient for longer, they are not going away, everything is managed, they are sustained. So these doctors could sustain his practice because of his relationship with the patient. I believe same thing happening in our industry, pharmaceutical industry also. If you have a good relation with your customer, even if in this case of COVID-19, you will get preferentially more share of his business, whatever number, less number of patient he has, more will come to the people who has good relationship with the doctors, rather than you just came as a mechanical and talking what Vijay said.
Pranav, I will add one more thing, one more small thing.
Please.
One more small thing. So when we talk about digitalization, so people should know, everybody is aware of, even knowingly, unknowingly, people are knowing using mobile apps. So using artificial intelligence, machine learning technologies. So blockchain, all these things are now new technologies are coming up, and in pharma industry. So because when you are dealing with export and import transactions, so the cash to cash life cycle, all transactions are going to happen. So blockchain is going to be a future, and it is going to protect the transactions, and also it is going to create security. And artificial intelligence, machine learning, anyhow, these are going to be predicting the future, accurately predicting what is going to happen. Sales, like sales analysis, how sales can be, how do we observe these disruptions? So predictive analytics based on the data, past data available. If this is the condition, what is the solution that is going to be available? Like that, you can have what do you call that? Analysis, incremental analysis, or sensitivity analysis. You can do sensitivity analysis because the solution is ready. It's not searching for solution. Solution is going to be ready using these technologies.
Yes. I think I would ask you quick questions for the audience, whether you will be interested to have a session in this platform on something like what Professor said, machine learning, artificial intelligence, how you can use in the promotion, the pharmaceutical promotion itself.
Yes.
If you guys are interested, then maybe we host a session bringing those technology expert who can give you actionable learning point, or at least inspirations to you, the possibilities, how you can use right away those technology in the pharmaceutical marketing. Now we are ending here. Before I ask the concluding remark from the panelists, last question from the audience also. Which among the following statement resemble the most in your opinion? Which among the following resonates the most with this current situation as per your assessment and opinion? So just to respond, this is the last we could take this opinion. Little long, so it will take some time to read. All companies will continue to degrow for at least next 6 months. I'm happy that nobody has chosen this option as of now. Few companies will exhibit different behaviors and start growing from July, September quarter itself. More than half of the people are saying this thing. The big companies will be bigger organically, and small companies will be smaller by end of the financial year. The leaner companies will be able to adopt the situation much faster and will earn an extra piece of share. This is the options given. I'm waiting for, because I see response is still coming. We'll wait for another 10 seconds and then we'll close the poll and show you the result. Good. So let me publish the result now. I'm ending the poll. Yes, I'm ending the poll now. And if you see the result here, the highest response came for few companies will exhibit different behaviors and start growing from July, September quarter itself. What Vijay also emphasized on that, though the change is same for everybody, the response might not be same for everybody. So don't expect that the similar kind of negative degrowth will be coming in the next quarter also. The thing will appear differently. Another interesting thing came here is that the leaner companies will be able to adopt the situation faster and will earn an extra piece of share. 36%, more than 1/3 of the population believe that the leaner companies we can be bounce back faster than the elephant big companies. Here it is not about the volume size, rather more about the flexibility. I think is the lean is the process. It is not the number of employee only and not the size of the company. With this, we came to the end. Before ending, I request both the panelists to give your concluding remark, starting with Vijay and then Professor Acharyulu.
Okay, Pranav. So I just want to take a cue from this last poll where a few companies will exhibit different behaviors and start growing in this July to September quarter. And leaner companies will be able to adopt the situation faster and will earn extra piece of share. This is absolutely right. Okay, and as we normally say, as an organization, we need to be nimble-footed. We need to be lean, mean, and hungry for success. Here, I mean, I'm not going to give any general concept or gap. I mean, I'll share like what we in Brinton, we are doing. And with this COVID, one thing that has happened is the starting point is now same for whatever be the size of your company. So what we did is we could immediately see the gap and we sprung into action. And we know that our regular formulation products is going to take a hit because of the patients not moving to the clinics and doctors not practicing their normal practice. And see, basically, there are three types of people or three types of organization. The first one, who watch things happen. The second one, who wonder how things are happening. And the third one are the ones who make things happen. And we belong to that clan of who make things happen. So we immediately started launching products which would help treat the COVID patients, like PPE kits, N95 masks. And we found that PPE kits are not required for doctors in the OPD, and we quickly brought in a new product called OPD kits, which is doctors are loving it. And we also tied up with a company called BGI, which is a US-based company, for the RT-PCR kits, the diagnosing kits, which is recommended by ICMR. According to ICMR, RT-PCR is the gold standard when it comes to diagnosing the COVID-19. And we also engaged our team and doctors digitally, and we were probably one of the best engaged teams during the lockdown. Why do I say? We did close to 12 webinars with the who's who of Indian dermatologists and Indian pediatrics, through which we touched upon 6,000 doctors. We did 400 doctors, we took them to FB Live. And we gave, like I said, 4,000 doctors training on the online practice. And I'm happy to share that very soon, in a matter of days, Brinton would be launching Faviton. Faviton is nothing but Favipiravir, the most awaited product for the treatment of COVID-19. So coming to the end, I mean, I know that in audience, we have people from the sales, we have people from the marketing, and we have people who are aspiring to lead a pharmaceutical company, if not today, tomorrow. And my advice to them in terms of leadership qualities is the first and foremost thing that is required for a leader is to own up the responsibilities. And the leader will have to be ambidextrous. He has to operate both the things with both the hands. He needs to look into his current business, at the same time explore the future business opportunity. And as a leader, if he's not going to inspire and influence, why do we call that person as a leader in first place? And today, let's come to reality. Okay, I mean, we will not have the luxury of spending what probably we used to spend pre-COVID. So more for less. Keep your operating expense under check. And my advice to all people in the sales and marketing, please be focused not just on your top line, market share, rank moment. Please be focused on the bottom line. Okay, build loyal customers, both in terms of doctors and as well as patients. Work on doctor centricity, work on patient centricity. Be ready for the new normal. Okay, and let us learn from other industries. Let's not be like a frog in the same well. Okay, so now another important point that I would request all of you to do is there is a beautiful video of 5 minutes by Professor Ram Charan, okay, on the shopkeeper's mentality. In that video, he discusses the 5 building blocks for a successful companies. Cash flow is the number 1. Margins, better product mix. The third point is velocity. Superior inventory turns is nothing but velocity. Growth. Your growth will have to be a profitable growth. And last but not the least, the customers. Build loyal customers. Don't get carried away by what you see in the data that normally comes to us, like what is the prescriber base, what is the per capita. Look deep into it. Amongst the prescriber base, how many of the prescribers are loyal to you? Okay. And I would like to end by making a statement. Probably it might look a tall statement. Our former president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, always dreamt of making India a superpower by 2020. And we are in 2020. Okay. I want to meet all those guys who told me that I would have a fantastic 2020. Jokes apart. Maybe it is true. We must make India the pharma superpower in 2020. We all know that today India is respected and looked upon as the world's pharmacy. And India is a country where we have the second most number of US FDA approved manufacturing facility. The late 20th century and the early 21st century belonged to the IT sector, and which put India as a superpower in the globe. Now it is the turn of the pharma sector to demonstrate our supremacy and make our country a superpower. Let's create a new history. All the very best.
Professor?
So, as Vijay, I am endorsing Vijay's statement, some of the statements. So, I briefly conclude about my talk regarding this pharmaceutical supply chain point of view. So, this COVID-19 is one way it is blessing in disguise. Of course, positively, if you take into consideration. So, it is an opportunity to identify the weakness in the supply chain or distortion in supply chain to become more strength. So, you can build strength, you can redesign, rebuild, reinvent, so many arts, you can say. And this has given a scope that we can rethink. And also you can say we have responded to the changes and we have recovered. And the next stage is thriving. How do you flourish from that stage? So these things are very important in this pharmaceutical supply chain. And from the marketing point of view, so product life cycles, all these things, the fundamental concepts are fine. But the actual real situation, the product life cycles are going to be changed. It's compressing drastically, and we need to prepare to adapt to the changes in the environment. Accordingly, how to design our strategy. So that's how I conclude from my talk.
So product life cycle is thinking. So you have to be very, very swift. And Vijay, you have inspired all of us actually to contribute ourselves to make the next century for India pharmaceutical industry. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining live after lockdown. Thank you. Thank you, every participant.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Vijay, thank you, sir. Thank you for giving opportunity. Thank you, participants.